This is my third time speaking at UCAP. There'll be a couple things that I touch on that I won't be able to go into detail on that maybe I've done in the past because those videos are online and you can see them there. But when I started this, in my part in this movement, I started from a place of fear. I was scared. My first introduction into what was going on in the world with pornography was a Facebook article. People always ask me, what made you get into that? It was a simple Facebook article talking about teen porn consumption. And I was scared. And it was like a fire lit inside me that I knew I needed to do everything I could. I needed to get to every parent I possibly could to talk to. But I also have come in these last few years, I have evolved. Even as it feels like the culture is getting worse, I feel like I have become more optimistic, that I have seen more avenues for change, that I have seen things that we can do better. I don't know, how many of you have seen a movie come out recently called The Darkest Hour about Winston Churchill? I don't know about you guys, but I felt a kindredness to Mr. Winston Churchill, just his absolute imperfection, his brashness, that's very much me more. If you knew me better, you would know I'm Gracie, right? And that, I got him, I was like, that is it, man, that is my man, right? And so I'm gonna be using a few things that I have learned from Winston Churchill in the last few months, okay? And I promise this is the only slide that looks this awful, okay? And I'm gonna read this quote to you because I found it inspiring and I feel like it applies to us as parents in this digital age, in this possible war that we're waging. It says, "We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? And I can say it is to wage war, by sea, land, and air, with all our might and with all our strength that God can give us, to wage war against a monstrous tyranny. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word, it is victory. Victory at all costs, victory in spite of all terror, victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory there is no survival. But I take up my task with buoyancy and hope. I feel sure that our cause will not be suffered to fail among men. At this time I feel entitled to claim the aid of all, and I say, come then, let us go forward together with our united strength." And that is how I feel in this battle, that I am gonna wage war online, offline, in every way I possibly can to ensure the success and the survival of my children and of your children. So again, a lot of what we've talked about in the past, and even some of what I have gone through, has been on the defensive. Stay away from that app. Don't go on that website. And I have found that does not bring lasting change. It may stop a quick behavior, it may stop something briefly, but it does not bring that lasting change. And that we need to be focusing on going on the offensive. We no longer have that luxury of just saying no. It's time to turn that tide with our kids and in our communities of using technology for good. So not just saying, no, we're not gonna look at pornography. That's like living in a box. This is definitely more proactive. And so I think of who are the people that can do this? They're deliberate parents. They're people that are intentional, that are thinking about what they want to do. And those people know who they are. They know that I know that I'm a parent, that I'm not my kid's best friend, that sometimes I have to be the bad guy, that I'm willing to protect my kids at all costs, but I'm also gonna educate them. Even when I'm uncomfortable and I'm embarrassed, I'm gonna go on that offensive for them, that I'm a gatekeeper and a protector, that I know more than they do, that even though they might be more tech savvy than me, I have wisdom that they don't, and I'm gonna marry that together to ensure their success, okay? Back to our buddy Winston Churchill, okay? Something that struck me with a lot of parents. I have a lot of friends that I hear the things that they say, and it just sounds so special and so sweet, but sometimes they are not willing to do what is required to ensure the survival and the safety of their kids. It is not enough that we just do our best. Sometimes we have to do what's required, and that means not being our kid's best friend. It means looking out for them, okay? And that means going in a place without fear, okay? Seeing the end from the beginning, knowing our why. So this is a little bit what I'm gonna focus on as we start. A lot of times as parents, we say, you know, stay off your phone, get off your phone, or don't look at that, or you better get to bed or else, right? Those are what's. Hopefully though, they're in the picture of the why. Like, why are we doing this? Do you guys know who my buddy Simon Sinek is? Does anyone know? Raise your hand if you know who Simon Sinek is. I love Simon Sinek. So he has an amazing TED Talk, and a lot of his work is focused on helping corporations know their why. But as I was preparing for this, this book kept coming back to me, and I knew I had to reread it and look at it in terms of family. These principles apply to family. Now, he talks about it in the sense of like why Apple is so successful. They're so successful because they stick with their why. They're not just focused on selling products. And the time when they weren't successful in the late 80s and early 90s, it's when they stopped following their why. And I know that I've seen that with my kids. When my kids don't understand why, they could care less about what I'm teaching them. It's just another rule. It's just something else that mom is trying to. So if there's something that you can be thinking about, for me, my why, well, I'll talk about different whys, but my why for my kids is I want them to be successful adults. I want to inspire them to be the best people they can be. My why is why my family exists. You know, why did I bother having children? What all of us need to be thinking about, that why, okay? Intentional, deliberate parents that are successful, they understand the culture that we live in, okay? Danger gathers upon our path, and we cannot afford, we have no right to look back. It's not, we can't say, talking about the good old days doesn't help anymore. We need to be very aware and very wise about not just what's going on now, but what's next. Not just the bad, but the good too. What's coming next in this culture? Okay? The world our kids are living in. Okay? I want to talk just briefly about the doom and gloom of what's around us so that we can kind of, again, I think it helps to solidify our why. Okay? I have never felt so old until the last few years with the culture moving so quickly that I feel like I can't keep up. There's no way for us to keep up on every app that is out there, every danger. We can do our best and we can keep working and striving. We're not going to be perfect at this. Okay? Deliberate parents aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. Okay? I mess up in many steps here. But we understand this world that our kids are being faced with. Not dating each other anymore, right? I have so many parents patting themselves on their back because their kids are not dating. And I even knew somebody that paid their kids $500 that when they graduated from high school if they hadn't been kissed. This was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I'm like, where are they going to practice? How are they going to figure out how to have a relationship and how to date and how to have face-to-face interactions unless they make those mistakes while they're still with us at home? We need to be realizing what they're going through, this constant barrage in the culture, constantly telling them and us that we're not good enough. You don't look right, you don't have the right hair, the right clothes, you don't make enough money, you don't live in the right neighborhood, you're not cool enough, you're not going to the right party, this constant barrage, right? When you and I were in school, if we weren't invited to a party, we didn't find out until Monday morning, right? And we kind of went, oh, okay, or whatever. Imagine this constant reminder on your phone that you weren't included in something, right? Or that if you were bullied, you could leave that bully behind at school, but now it's right there over and over again, barraging our kids, okay? Our kids are being shaped by the smartphone. We know that I hope that you guys realize that phone is probably the most influential creation ever in the history of the world. It's more powerful than the pencil, more powerful than the discovery of paper, of the automobile, anything. It has changed us. It changes the way I interact with my family. It changes the way I talk to the world. It changes how I behave in my community, right? It is so powerful, and they're being shaped by it and told who they should be, what they should be listening to, what they should look like. Okay? So we have all these dangers out there, and it's hard to know what's really important or what's really affecting each of our kids. For some of our kids, there are legitimate bullying situations. There are predators out there. To me, these are some of the biggest dangers online, that if we're going to focus our energy, these are some of those that we want to talk about. Addiction, not just with pornography, but with social media. Okay? I'm going to be talking about pornography and social media just because when I am seeing, so I have a 17-year-old, a nearly 15-year-old, and a nearly 12-year-old. And what I am watching with them and with their friends, what I am seeing other experts talk about, what the research is coming in, Social media is damaging our kids just as much as pornography. And a lot of our kids are being exposed to pornography on social media, okay? So that is why it's important for us to talk about both of those things. Addiction can affect both of them. We're seeing that the more a child spends online, the more, if they are spending an above average number of times in front of a screen, there's more depression, more loneliness. I've never heard so many people and so many kids talk about how lonely they feel, how left out they feel, how they don't feel like they have close friends. I see this with my children. Their relationships are very different than what you and I had. I had friends I could tell pretty much everything to. I had those girlfriends that I had grown up with. My daughter is a junior this year. She does not have that. She does not have that. She has to protect herself in levels that I never thought about at that age, because if she says something, it might be texted to somebody else, it might be screenshot and shown to somebody else if she is not utterly careful in how she behaves. Okay? Sexting. Please don't think this is something that happens elsewhere. My church congregation has had at least 2 in the last year, not just a girl, but a boy too, okay, sharing naked photos. Please don't think this is something that happens elsewhere. It is a danger, it is a temptation for all of our kids, okay? When we live in a culture that is considered a compliment to ask for nude photos, it is very confusing. Think about what you would have said. If a boy or a girl had asked you for naked photos, I would have slapped that kid. But I hear my daughter and some of her friends I've heard said, "Oh, I didn't know that boy liked me." It's like, he doesn't. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't want to date you. He doesn't want to love you. He wants to get off on you, right? We never had to think about this, so we need to just understand what our kids are going through there. The problem with social media. I love social media, and I hate social media. I use it for the work that I do. I use it to keep in touch with people that I haven't seen in years, but it also can be very dangerous. It is a virtual Lord of the Flies, right? The best, quote unquote, survive, and other people get thrown by the wayside and even socially and spiritually killed, right? It is kill or be killed out there. Musically, right? That's an app that a lot of younger kids are using. My kids are a little bit older. That's not a temptation, and they're not into it. I have seen horrific things said by adults to kids on this app, right? Things that you would never say face to face, but that they feel utterly fine twisting that knife into younger people or to each other, right? That difference between being behind a screen. That self-objectification. So we see a lot of girls, and now the beginnings with boys, of self-objectifying. They're totally cutting out the middleman and self-objectifying themselves, creating the male gaze. So the male gaze is something it's a term used in advertising, that most advertising is created by heterosexual men for other heterosexual men, right? And women. We have teenage girls who have learned to cut that out and to create that themselves. They no longer need an advertisement. They can create their own sexy pose, just enough, they know just how much leg, how much skin to show to keep themselves popular, to keep themselves in the running. Things that you and I never thought about. They know right when to post to get the most likes. They know which buddy at school to post with to get more likes. You and I never thought about that, never had to worry about that. It's this bottomless quest for constant comparison. There's no winning that game, is there? You and I know that as adults, as we scroll and see other people's perfect homes and perfect families and perfect vacations, and getting that, there's no satisfaction there. You'll never fill your bucket with this, right? Our kids will never fill their bucket with that, and they need to know that, okay? And obviously with social media, more increased exposure to sexting and pornography, okay? Not just on Twitter or Tumblr, on Instagram, of course on Snapchat. I've mentioned many times when I speak that I have seen the articles myself. So pornographers have websites where they go and learn the best way to market, the best lighting to buy, the best pay systems. Well, they also know how to learn how to market. I've seen articles myself to pornographers telling them, don't go to Pinterest. Why not? Because it's mommies like me who are planning parties and getting recipes, right? But they tell them, go to Snapchat, go to Instagram. Why are they telling them to go there? Because it's where our kids are at, right? Hook them young, create a lifelong customer, okay? I do this slide probably every time I speak because a lot of times people don't understand, well, what is the big deal with pornography? Now, a lot of groups, particularly religious groups, like to focus on addiction. Addiction is very scary, and it is something that I know that I worry about. But this is what terrifies me more as a culture, that we have millions and millions of teenage boys and teenage girls now growing up on a diet of pornography, where they are learning their sexual education with a complete lack of intimacy, right? We know there's no hugging, kissing, loving in pornography, right? It is just the act. So that is what they are learning, okay? Nothing about caring for another person. It's that narcissistic sex. It is all about my pleasure. It is not about you, okay? A very hateful view of women, and sometimes men, but often with a woman always on her knees, always in a position of powerlessness. That worries me, that when that child's arousal template is being formed between 8 and 12, that's when we figure out if we're gay or straight, or if we have a certain fetish. These things happen at that very young age when our brains are undeveloped. And I fear and I worry about kids who are learning and are getting off, and that arousal template being worked on, and seeing images that to me are very hateful of women, okay? Very counterfeit, commodified, meaning that is a product. Bodies being used as a product. So we have kids on social media literally commodifying themselves, turning themselves into a product to be sold, right? Maybe not for money, but for social status. They're commodifying themselves. Same here, we're seeing a commodified, formulaic McDonald's cheeseburger version of sex, right? We are not learning about all the beautiful, amazing, different things we can do to bring intimacy and love and increase our relationship with our partner, right? We're learning McDonald's cheeseburger sex that is meant for the audience, right? Not for the people involved. A portrayal of deviant acts is normal. This continues to rise and will continue to rise. Every year, Pornhub, the biggest porn site in the world, releases its top search terms. And we see a continual rise in deviant terms, meaning themes that are related to incest. A man should not have sex with his daughter or his stepdaughter. A woman should not have sex with her son or her stepson. But these are the terms that are continually rising in the ranks of what people are searching for and being portrayed as normal and okay. And of course you're gonna find your mom hot. No, please don't find your mom hot, okay? But again, this is what is being taught to our kids. Last year, the most trending term, the big standout term, it wasn't the #1 term, but it was the term that caught Pornhub's attention, the term was porn for women, right? So we need to, again, move away from that feeling or that thought that this is a boy problem or that I only need to talk to my sons about this. We need to talk to our daughters. They are onto them, they are targeting them, they are hunting them for those dollars, okay? Generally, what I have noticed, it's still the same old pornography. Maybe there's a minute or two extra of a storyline. Maybe the woman gets kissed, but it still ends with the same body-punishing sex, okay? Increased availability on social media. They are continually changing up their searches because Instagram is constantly is banning different search terms. So they get very clever in changing around, adding accents, adding different international marks of grammar in order to continue to keep their stuff on social media. An upsurge of virtual reality. I think we all know that. And of course, more personal experiences. These are some of the latest trends, okay? Cam work, where a person is live. I worry about this because then the audience is making a connection with the porn actress. I worry about that a child or a teenager might be making an emotional connection with this person on screen, okay? But do not let us speak of darker days. Let us speak rather of sterner days. These are not dark days. So even though we've just heard all this negativity, right? These are great days. I believe that. I absolutely believe it. The greatest days our country has ever lived. And we must all thank God that we have been allowed, each of us, according to our stations, to play a part in making these days memorable in the history of our race. I agree with that. We were born for this time. We are the right parents to parent these children. That's part of that being deliberate, is knowing that about ourselves, that we are the right parents to parent these children. We're not going to be perfect. okay? And hopefully we are gonna focus on why. So where do we go from here? We need to formulate that why with our partner, within ourselves. What do I want for my child when they leave home? What kind of person do I want them to be? And what are the things that I'm gonna teach them to help them get to that point, okay? We need to lead with why. So sometimes, I know that I make this mistake all the time and I have to correct myself. I maybe just give my kids one direction. So something that Simon Sinek brought to my attention in the reading that I did was, this is what happens when we start with what, okay? A lot of us will start with what. Don't do that, right? So, okay, I don't want you to watch pornography, so we're not gonna have phones, or I'm just gonna give you a flip phone, or we're not gonna have social media, we're gonna do this. And then why are we doing that? Well, because porn is unfulfilling, hateful, counterfeit, and it's a poor coping mechanism, right? But look at the difference when we start with why, when we can help our kids understand that. So we start with porn is unfulfilling. It's a poor coping mechanism. So how are we gonna deal with that? Well, we're gonna seek alternative coping skills. We're gonna use screen time in better ways. We're gonna practice using tech for good. We're gonna be proactive. And what is the end product of that? That we're gonna be able to avoid porn and other harmful media, okay? That we're gonna understand its risks, and we're gonna seek those positive opportunities with technology, okay? Start with why. Then we need to know, how are we gonna do this? Okay, we have a lot of work ahead of us, so how are we gonna do this? I so appreciate what Joy Jones said about not a one-time conversation, repeating this over and over again. I have 3 children. I've been doing this work for more than 4 years. I have several conversations. Just because this is my work, I don't feel like, oh, well, I did it. I've talked to them. It's repeated because it's evolving, it's changing. They have different friends who have different questions. They have different ideas that they'll bring to the dinner table that I need to talk with my kids about. Big thing I love, we need to start first. Please do not wait for your child to ask you the question, okay? That is not helpful. Establish yourself as the source, okay? I know this, let them know that you are available to talk. When you open up those tough conversations, that is how they know, oh, I'm allowed to talk to mom about this? Oh, dad talks about this, so this is okay to talk about? Removes the shame, takes the secrecy away from these topics, okay? Using everyday opportunities, dinner time, bedtime, whatever that time is. When my kids were little, it was bedtime. Now that they're older, it's dinner time. A few years ago, we started very simply by asking our kids, what was the best and the worst part of your day? And it started out very little, 1 or 2 word answers sometimes, but evolved now to the point where we have had a couple people recently over for dinner, and they sit there and they watch my kids, and they're utterly perplexed at what is going on because my kids are fighting to tell us about their day. Now they go from the minute they wake up until dinner time, where each person gets a turn to talk all about their day. And then they'll be like, oh, I heard, and a friend the other day is like, oh, I'm gonna do that at my house. I said, don't try to start here. Start simpler, and then it will evolve to this point. Okay, using dinner conversation starters. They're all over the internet. If you Google conversation starters, you'll find a million great ones to have deep, meaningful conversations with your kids. And then that's where it becomes so easy to start talking about these tougher topics, okay? When I was a kid, I used to just chafe at this statement. Remember, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? I used to think, oh my gosh, that is the cheesiest thing I've ever heard. But I see it happen in my home every single day. My kids don't care what I have to say unless they know that there is love and intent behind it, okay, including these conversations. All right, how do we begin? Where do we begin with these conversations? If you have little kids, it becomes particularly important to define pornography. Most of us already know this, but in case you don't, pornography is very different than when you and I were kids. We need to define it as an online presence, not as pictures or magazines, but as videos, okay? This is as simple not the most simple, but this is a great simple definition here. We have more simplified versions in our age 3 to 7 book. But helping them know that this is what it is. And then allowing for questions and discussion on this. This is one discussion, okay? So I'm gonna talk about some other things. This is not all to be done in one evening. This is one discussion. This is a discussion that you might plan on 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe it'll go 30 or 40 minutes with their questions. But these should be done in small bursts okay? It's a chat. They're the chats. It's not a talk. It's the chats, okay? We're gonna have a chat about pornography. Let's chat about pornography. Anyways, very important to validate them, that they know that their curiosity is normal, to validate that they want to be on social media, okay? Understanding that this is where kids live, and that even though we don't use it the same way and that we don't maybe like everything, for a lot of us, this is where our kids live. And the not being on it is the equivalent of social suicide. Gear that, understand that, talk about with your kids to figure out what is the best way to approach it, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Validating your kids, showing them where they can find good answers. Where is it okay to search for information? Who is it okay to talk to about these things? Because we're not just gonna Google sex, right? We're not just gonna Google penis or vagina, right? Because we're gonna come away with horrific pornography. Media literacy, okay? Most of the times when I go and I speak, nobody has any idea what media literacy is. Media literacy is something that has been taught in schools for 30 years. Why it hasn't been taught in the home, I have no idea. It blows my mind, especially when we now live in an image-based culture. We no longer live in a print-based culture. We live in an image-based culture, and most of us don't even know how to read images, okay? This is some of the stuff from our newer book called Petra's Power to See, where we cover some of the different topics. You don't have to buy this book to know how to do this, but these are some of the topics that our kids need to understand because they are constantly inundated with images, advertising. They say that we see between 3,000 and 4,000 messages a day in media. Okay? That I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. But I know right now, as I'm looking out at the audience, I see many messages. I see messages for UCAP. I see brand name clothes. We're constantly hit with messages, and our kids need to know how to deconstruct and break those apart so that they can make an understanding. And all of this is an amazing foundation so that when they do see pornography, they can understand, wait a second, that's not how it really is. That's fake. That is not right. Okay? What else do our kids need to understand, and how can we help them? They need to know that it has addictive qualities, not just pornography, but social media and the internet. Very addictive, affecting that side of our brain. I'm not going to spend much time on this because there's a presentation online from UCAP you can find, and we discuss more about that. Helping them understand how all of these images, pornography and social media, condition our brain. I love this quote from Dr. Gail Dines. She says, "Images construct the way we think in the world. They jump off of the pages and into our lives, our identity, and our sexuality." I wholeheartedly agree. We are conditioned by these images. I only have one slide on this because there's nearly an entire presentation about this from 3 years ago. If you want more details on how to talk to your kids about healthy sexuality, okay? I'm not going to cover it, but we need to know. If you're going to talk about pornography, you have to talk about its opposite, healthy sexuality. Now, it doesn't, again, have to start with the scary topics. It doesn't have to go right into the mechanics, right? A lot of the topics that we have in our book are very protective. They talk about my body belongs to me, and that I should not have to give forced affection. I should not be forced to give a hug to my creepy Uncle Stanley or my Aunt Linda who scares me, right? I don't have to do that because my body belongs to me. Some of the other discussions are how to create a healthy relationship. It's not just talking about the mechanics. It's not just talking about STDs and pregnancy, thank you. It is about talking about intimacy and relationships. My why. So social media, our kids want to be on. Some of us need to be on for the jobs that we have. This is my why. We need to each have our own why. This is my why. I want to inspire my family and others to use technology to make a positive impact on others through tolerance, kindness, authenticity, and ingenuity. Have your why. I'm going to explain why that's so important here, okay? So again, having that why. This is some of the wrong way to approach this. You know, get off your phone, right? You know, how are we going to do that? Oh, okay, we're going to have device-free spaces. Okay, we're going to not have anybody talking on their phone at dinner, etc. But that doesn't inspire. A more inspiring way, again, is to start with that why. I love you and I want to connect with you. I want to hear about your day. I want to know what you love and what you don't like. I want to know about what makes you tick and what your favorite subject is in school. I want to connect with you. Helping our kids understand that is why it's important to keep our phones off the dinner table, because I want to connect and build a deep relationship with you. All right, some of our solutions. Safety first, of course. If your kids are on social media, you need to be on social media. If they're on Instagram, you need to be following all of their accounts. And you need to know how they create fake accounts. This week, I had my daughter write it, she wrote it a couple weeks ago, but about a week ago, we published it on our website. It's called How Kids Are Leading Double Lives, right? I know about, with the shooting in Florida, everybody was floored, right? How could this possibly have happened? How could this kid have led such a double life? Okay, my daughter explains a piece of that. Social media. I can be one face for this account. I am this face for another account, and this is the account that my mom and my dad follow. And here is my Finsta account, my fake Instagram, right? Here's my Snapchat that my parents don't know about. I can put on one face at school, I can put on another face for my parents. Because of all of this screen time and all of this time on social media, it's becoming easier and easier to lead that double life, okay? This is my standard, because people always ask, well, should I wait for a smartphone until 13, 14, 15? Should I let them get on social media when they're 13, when they're 16? This is the answer right here. Wait to let your kids get on it when they are ready to use it deliberately. That means we're not just going to scroll through feeds. We are going to pay attention, and I'm going to get on, post my picture, get off. Okay? I've had several friends lately talk to me about how unhappy they have felt, how depressed they have felt, seeing other people, to see how hypocritical some people are, to see, so much political unhappiness, to see so much. And I remember thinking for a minute, like, I don't relate to that anymore. Why don't I relate to that anymore? Why don't I have that same feeling? Because I had that feeling a few years ago. And I realized it's because I no longer use social media as that type of outlet. I have been using social media deliberately for well over a year now, if not 2 years, and it's just very deliberate. I'm going on there to share a message. I'm going on there to uplift somebody else, and then I get off of it. I have a time limit in my head. And because of that, a lot of that is washed away. All that feeling of inadequacy melting away because I'm being deliberate, because I am being wise in what I'm spending on. So if your child is ready at age 15 to be deliberate, to be helpful, to use that technology to build and lift others, they're ready, okay? Same thing with the smartphone. Is it wait till, have you guys heard that movement, wait till 8th? Like wait till they're in 8th grade is the movement. And I've heard some, wait till 16. You decide that in your home. You know your kids better than anybody when they're ready to be deliberate, okay? Create and maintain rules. There's 1 million cell phone contracts on the internet. If you Google it, great ones, good ones. So good that I never felt the need to create our own for our website. Find one, discuss it, add to it, take away from it, make that work in your home, okay? Teaching social media literacy. So we talked about media literacy briefly, and a lot of times we forget to teach it. We teach it with advertising and movies and videos, but we don't teach it with social media, where our kids are getting half of their media. Do our kids realize that we're all selling something? That's me up there. What am I selling on social media? I'm selling a very specific message. Who knows my message? You don't? I'll tell you my message. My message is good mommy. See, that's good mommy right there. Good mommy forces her kids to do service. Good mommy takes her kids on trips. Good mommy takes her kids to the symphony there to hear some Harry Potter music, right? Good mommy, right? That is what I am selling, okay? Be aware of the message you are selling, and please help your kid know that every single person on social media is selling something. Help them see through what they're selling, what their fellow teenagers are selling, even with the adults in your community, that we are all selling a message. Teaching positive digital citizenship. This is a relatively new movement, okay? There's digital citizenship, which is just about how we behave online. Positive digital citizenship is about using technology for good to help other people. Help your kids understand that their actions matter. Think of a drop of water hitting a lake and all those ripples. Everything, every email, every text, everything matters. You know, I think we all went through this. I know that when I first had Facebook, I thought I sounded one way until I had a friend negatively respond to me. Oh, wait, oh, I didn't mean to say that. That's not really how I sounded. So think of, again, our kids. I got on Facebook in my early 30s, right? Think of our 12, 13, 14-year-old kids of course they're going to miscommunicate. Help them make those mistakes at home while they're still living with you. Let them make those mistakes while they're still with you so that you can help them, right? Teaching your kids to be authentic. That goes back to that double life, that they are going to be real. Now, they don't have to share every problem online, right? But nor should they only share their best, right? Not just the vacation, right? How many things do you see where you have people that post and all they post about is their perfect vacation, their perfect Sunday picture? That's not life. Be real. Show them how to be real. Literally, take your phone up and show them. Look at this funny post I wrote. Or here's somebody I disagreed with on this political issue. Do you see how I handled it? Do you think I handled that well? Have a discussion about it. How are they going to know otherwise? They need to learn from you. It's okay to go, see what I did there? It was a mistake. Or, hey, I did a great thing there. Did you see what I did? I posted, this person's having a hard day, and I shared something with them that helped them. Or look at what I post. It's not just cat videos. I want to help people. You know, again, showing your kids how to behave online, okay? That they're going to seek out different opinions. I know this is hard with the algorithms that we get from Facebook, where they are just showing us what they think we're going to click on and like and stay on. But they need to be seeking out differences of opinions, okay? Combining those online and offline personalities, okay? For the longest time, we taught kids have a secret password, have a secret name online. We're moving away from that because we use technology so much. It is time to merge those personalities so you do not have one online persona and one offline persona. Those need to be one. Okay, addressing these concerns. Teach your kids to see phones as a tool. Imagine if they only saw it as a tool. I know this is a super hard thing when you have a baby. I am so lucky I did not have a smartphone until my youngest was about 5. It never even dawned on me to be like, here, stop, I'm so tired, because I know that's what I would have done. I was exhausted. I'm sure you guys were exhausted when you had little kids. Here, yes, take the phone, leave me alone, right? Maybe you wouldn't. You're looking at me with blank stares. Maybe that never has occurred to you. And so, but for me it would have, right? And I am lucky that that was not my temptation. But think of, in one of our books, it's called Noah's New Phone, a story about using technology for good. One of the pictures in there is a group of adults sitting at Starbucks with their coffee and pacifiers in their mouth, looking at their phones. Because that is what I feel like when I sometimes look around at places. I'm at the airport, and everyone's sucking on that pacifier, right? I'm too busy to look around, right? Oh, that's 2 seconds. I was alone in the car. How's a stop light? Oh, this is a stop sign. This is a long light, right? That pacifier. If we want our kids to be better, we need to be a little better in our behavior, okay? Teaching our kids the value of face-to-face interaction. We live a lot online, but they need to know how valuable that is. My daughter has had a few boyfriends, right? I don't know what they're. Boys that she talks to and dates occasionally, right? When the first one came around, I let her know this is not going to be a texting relationship. She looked at me horrified. What do you mean by that? I said, you're going to call each other on the phone and talk to each other like human beings. She was terrified. My daughter is an introvert, totally not like me, right? But she did it and she loved it. Within a week, she was like, thank you, this is awesome. Why was it? She was having connection. She was building connection. She was learning how to behave, how to talk to a boy, and he was learning how to talk to a girl. It was amazing. Just watch this. She has now trained 3 boys on how to behave, okay? Please, train your kids. Show them how to behave, because your kids are going to marry my kids. We want that to work out, okay? Tech breaks are fast. This is something genius my husband has come up with. Tech fast, right? Every kid will tell you, I need my phone for school. At least my kids do. I can't be without my phone. We use it in class, da-da-da-da. We're like, that's nice. I guess this is going to be a tough day at school for you, isn't it? Right? Fasting from it. Us too, not just them. We all need to fast from that technology. Having a day off, 2 days off, a weekend off. Letting your friends and contacts know, I'm off my phone for 2 or 3 days. you will be a new person. It is renewing. Just like a physical fasting from food, this is a renewing experience. Having those tech breaks, having tech-free zones. For us, it is definitely the dinner table. And anytime we're having a family night, if we're anywhere, or even in the car, I do not let my kids text or be on the phone in the car. And when we have friends in the car, my kids do not like this. A friend will come in the car, they'll be on their phone. I said, I'm sorry, we are not on our phones in the car. We like to talk to each other and have a human interaction. And they always look at me like, right? But then they talk, and they have a human interaction with us, okay? Inspiring our kids to use tech for good. This is so important, okay? By small and simple means, great things happen. I'm not expecting us to change the world tomorrow, but we all know of an experience where somebody just sent us a nice text or posted such a sincere compliment on our Facebook feed that lifted us. We need to be planting these seeds constantly. Maybe you can inspire your kids to say, if you're going to get on, you have to compliment 3 people today. Anytime you get on, you're going to compliment 3 people. We've even done a family night where I'm like, I want you to text a sincere compliment to 20 friends right now. My kids were all over that. That was easy to do. That's an easy, quick way to help your kids, okay? Building traditions that use technology for good. There are amazing service apps online, apps and websites, making that a tradition, making that part of the routine. That's that being deliberate. In the mornings at breakfast, we are not on our phone. Okay, we're going to finish our homework. You have this hour or this 2 hours in the evening to use your phone. Our tradition is finishing homework before we get on our phones. Whatever that works in your home, make it work in your home, okay? Seeking out the best and avoiding the worst. The apps come and go quickly. People always want lists of okay apps and not okay apps. They change constantly. If you want to stay up on that constantly, go for it. Okay, I do monitor these with my kids very thoroughly, meaning they have to get my approval for every single app. Their friends think their mother is crazy, and I'm like, that's right, they're right. So no app goes on my phone. If your kid has a phone or an app on their phone that you don't know what it is, it shouldn't be on their phone, okay? You should understand those apps thoroughly before they get them, okay? Technology's potential is limitless. So is your child's potential to change the world. Help them know that. They need to know that. I need to know that about me. Before I got involved in this, Twitter was a mystery. Okay, I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter, right? Because people say obnoxious things, but I have been able to reach out to experts around the world, and they get back to me in 2 seconds. Think of what did that happen for us when we were in high school? If you wanted to reach out to a professor in New York or someone in New Zealand, it would have taken weeks or months to get back. They can reach out to physicists, engineers, psychologists, social workers all over the world and get expert information at the drop of the hat. This is amazing. And these are things that we need to take advantage of and teach them how to use, okay? Help them discover, co-creating with our kids. We need to help. This is not us telling them what to do. This is us working together to create this, okay? This is the first time in the history of the world I can change the world with a smartphone. I can create an entire movement. I can do something as simple as a petition on change.org, but I can also create and gather millions of followers. Our kids have that power. We need to help them use it for good. Okay? So I told you some hard things at the beginning of this talk. Okay? That first long quote was at the beginning of the war that Winston Churchill did, his first talk to Parliament. This is towards the end of the war. And he said, I told you hard things at the beginning of this war. You did not shrink, and I should be unworthy of your confidence if I did not still cry forward, unflinching, unswerving, indomitable, till the whole task is done and the whole world is safe and clean. We have a work to do, each of us. It is no accident that we're here together in this room, learning from each other, going out, learning from these other talks, to go out, to do good, to help others, to lift others, to not just focus on avoiding the worst, but to use all of this technology for the best, okay? It's more impactful if we inspire our kids of what could be than what it will be if they don't act. Help them, give them permission to dream about a better world. Imagine if social media was 80 or 90% positive. What would that do for us as individuals? What would that do for us as communities? of the whole world, if we could create that. It starts with each one of us. That's not going to happen unless I go today and post something positive and helpful to others. DM me on Instagram or on Twitter. I will mail it to you. If you want this whole presentation, I will email it to you. Okay? info@educateempowerkids.org. You can have whatever you want. Subscribing to our website, though, will give you gives you all the latest information, gives you sometimes exclusive opportunities. Sorry, I thought the email was on this slide, but it's not. So it's info@educateempowerkids.org. And you can ask any questions of our staff there if you have other private questions that you're not sure of. Anyways, thank you very much.